citizens of the future we define. No regrets tied to the things we leave behind. Brand new possibilities, technologies, and currencies. A new sun will rise, shadows quickly fly. All of a new way. Brand new possibilities. Brand new possibilities, technologies, and currencies. A new sun will rise, and shadows quickly fly. New.
Thank you for telling me I'm muted. I'm using some different audio equipment today. Am I coming through now? Yeah, great. We're still doing the soft launch. With me over here is Rodrigo A to Z. Rodrigo, how are you today?
Hello. Yeah, I'm doing good. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing well. I'm working with a little bit of a new setup, as you can tell, and we're still in the soft launch phase. We skipped last week. I was very, very sick. like nobody wanted to hear from me, so if my voice is still a little bit off, dealing with that. And Rodrigo, I completely messed you up right now. I forgot just magically things you forget while you're sleeping overnight that the U.S. East Coast time changed about a week or so ago. And so Rodrigo's all ready to go in like an hour from now. And I said,
Yeah.
Sorry about
Next
that,
thing I
my
know, I'm like,
friend.
oh, I'm ready in 5 minutes. I'm like, don't you mean an hour and 5 minutes from now? What's going
Yeah,
on? What do you mean?
that is completely on me. I am super sorry for that. Hopefully it doesn't inconvenience you too much. But hey,
No, it's
even though
okay.
we're still in the soft launch, we have so much that's going on. But I just have to brag first for a moment that I finally, I don't know what I did with it. I completely lost it. Oh, here it is. I will pull it up on screen. I finally got my Samsung Galaxy S22. I bought the Ultra. I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging about this. I'm pointing this out because I'm super frugal with phones. Like I buy these, $200 phones. I keep them for 3 years. I'm known in my social circle as the guy who is a tech person, but never has the tech equipment. So I decided I'm going to do what I do with cars, cycle through and try a high end model for a while. And I will tell you, for those of you who buy iPhones and these Galaxy devices, you guys are living on a whole other planet than the rest of us, right? Like this stuff is insane what we can do with it. So if you hear me over the next few months talking about this thing, that's one of the reasons why. And honestly, I'm not even so much excited for it as much as I am for the watch. I've missed having a smartwatch. I haven't had one in about 2 years. my previous one was a Microsoft Band 2, if that tells you anything. And I'm ready to honestly, I'm ready to chunk the phone completely and just go with the smartwatch. Rodrigo, what do you use with your devices? What are you
You
what are
know,
you
it's kind of
using?
funny.
iPhone?
Yeah, funny you mentioned that actually, because I used to have a smartwatch myself about a year and a half ago until it was one of those college nights that I just don't remember at all. And next thing I know, my watch just disappeared. so
Oh no.
yeah, so I'm actually looking to get a smartwatch myself again. Those things are so useful. Honestly, when I had it on myself, I barely looked at my phone at all, unless it was for checking crypto prices every hour or so. But no, yeah, that's good. That's good to hear because I had an Apple, what's it called, the Watch Series 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
But I'm still having a look because I'm still kind of chained to Apple products at the minute, and
Nothing wrong with
I
that.
used
Nothing wrong with that at
no.
all.
Not at all, not at all. I used to be on Android myself actually, but then I figured to give it a try. I like to explore both OSs and everything and see what it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
kind of similar, frugal with technology. I got myself a phone not too long ago, about like a new phone. I mean, maybe again year ago or something. The same time where I got my watch as well, and it's been so nice because it's more for the battery and everything that you need to chat with other people. And it was one of them where the charging, well, where you connect your charger to your phone was getting really damaged, so it just
Yeah.
wouldn't connect or
But yeah, I mean,
not really
since you use
charge.
Apple, you're kind of locked into using the high-end stuff. It's not like you're going and buying older models. They don't really have much of a mid-range anymore, do they?
No, especially since they've done some controversial things that people like to talk about, where older models or generations act up much slower because of the iOS updates and everything.
Yeah.
So they really do lock you out from it. So yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm muting myself a little bit because I still have a lingering cough and I'm dealing with it. But I found it interesting that you also agreed with the watch because one of the key parts of the show is not just crypto, but as I started using this watch again, I kind of like this futurism side kicked in, and I'm thinking, it's not going to be very long until there are crypto wallets that are very friendly with wearable devices, screenless devices, things like that. And the reason I bought this particular phone instead of an iPhone, by the way, is because of how Samsung and Microsoft work together, and I can open up all of my applications right here on my computer, right? I can go to the Earphone app, I can open whatever it is. So if something's made for phone and not for desktop, the Samsung will run it and just screen emulate on the desktop.
I think
And as
that's
I'm doing
extremely
that, I
relatable.
started thinking
Yeah.
like, how far away are we from that happening with the watch? Where like if my apps are on my watch and I'm using something like Microsoft had Continuum, Samsung has Dex, the Your Phone Companion, how long until like my phone is not with me on my person? Here I am bragging about it. It's not with me. It's off on the charger, and I only have the good old trusty wristwatch with me. I
No,
think I
yeah. I
think as
mean,
as people get used to screenless, that'll happen more and more.
I agree. No, absolutely in the same consensus there because they're kind of testing the watch apps themselves. Are not that great at the minute, in my opinion. Really, they are getting better with it. Some better than not. I think there's actually some custom made widgets that people are making as well, where you can kind of have on your watch the prices of very specific projects, especially if you're involved into DeFi, where it's not in your traditional Coin Market Cap or CoinGecko applications. So
Right.
we'll see how that goes, and I'd like to see how, if anyone could actually make some type of application intertwined with, let's say, for example, your MetaMask wallet or any Web3 custodial wallets with smart contracts or something like that, which I'm sure we'll get there,
I
right?
think we'll get there. I think by the time that the watches start getting more camera capabilities and right, some of these features that we have on the phone, like the fingerprint readability under the screen, as we move that over to the watch, it's only a matter of time then, right?
Yeah.
You think about your MetaMask, you're just, thumbprint in, you can NFC communicate your private key, whatever you need to do. I think that's when we'll get there is when that other technology starts moving over.
Hmm.
So, of course, I don't want to go too far down that tangent because I'm nerding out over it, but it's not a current news item. I guess the current news item is for those who were pre-ordering the Galaxy S22 Ultras. I can say that they are actually shipping, and one of the hangups was these custom colors down here. I personally bought the graphite, the burgundy, by the way, if anyone hasn't seen it. It looks a lot more purple in person, and it's beautiful. But the graphite that I bought, the sky blue and red, if somebody ordered these, we were looking at, I think it was like 4, 5, 6 week delays. And so if you haven't received yours, because I've had a couple people on Twitter since I've mentioned getting this, they said, well, I don't have mine. How long of a delay am I looking at? 4, 5, 6 weeks is what we've been seeing so far. So they are there. They're out. They're shipping now. But closer to home, Rodrigo, you and I had talked a little bit before about there was some news with Sparta Wallet
Yeah.
just completely leaving Zilliqa.
I think this is going to be an interesting one that people, I mean, have already talked about really in all different types of social medias, either Telegram or Twitter, but I guess more another space, another Twitter space kind of to talk about here with Sparta.
So I'm gonna give props to ZilliQuest here because he had shared the this is how I first found out about the AMA going on. And so the Sparta team, Chase and Chris, which by the way, I have to put this out there. I have not heard the entire AMA, but of course, people chatting with me, they've even told me that there are folks in the AMA who do what people do all the time. They confuse me with Chase Freeman, however you say his name.
That's right. Yeah. I was in that AMA and it exactly.
Yeah, that's not something either he nor I want. We are not the same person. We go, unfortunately for both of us, back a little bit. It has been a contentious it's been a contentious I'll keep that cough in there. Look, he and I went to rival colleges. We live in the same rough geographic part of the planet. We were involved in the same niche blockchain. We bumped heads a few times, and he and I do not see eye to eye on process and procedure. I don't see it the same way he does, that the community, and in his words, didn't support them. I feel more that the long and the short is that they moved their project from Zilliqa over to Harmony One, right? That's what happened, right? But I wanted to put that out there. Chase Freeman and I are not the same person, not even remotely close. Chase, I wish no ill to you. I wish no harm to you. I wish no nothing like that. Nothing but success as you move on. But I think you and I would both agree, if you're watching, we're not the same person, and we really don't want people mistaking us for the other person. Maybe not so much for ego purposes, but because we're doing two very different things in the space. So I wanted to put that out there first. But what, Rodrigo, was your general understanding of what happened? Because mine was that they said, you know what, enough is enough. We're tired of dealing with Zilliqa Core. We're tired of dealing with Scylla and having to build everything from scratch. We're tired of, in their perception, the community not giving them the support that they would desire. And so Chris and Chase, Chris being the developer and the founder of Sparta Wallet, Chase being the marketer, that they decided that they were going to up and move to Harmony One. Is that your understanding of what happened?
Yeah, it's exactly that, actually. So, I mean, I don't think there's any necessarily anything that's wrong with moving away from a chain whatsoever, but it's more in the sense of how you do it. And I think that's really what's made everyone talk this past few week really about Sparta Wallets. And
so what's that all about? Because I don't think that people I don't think that people really get this, right? There are still people I see on Twitter that are saying, well, they love Zilliqa, so that's the offense. Look, there are people out there that as soon as you say anything critical, as soon as you call out maybe even a common sense blunder and say, well, okay, I acknowledge that this happened, they instantly think you're fudding Zilliqa. But I'm going to point out that this wasn't necessarily that. It was, like you said, more about how they left. So how was it? How did they leave, to your knowledge?
Well, it's kind of a mixed opinion, because obviously there's a lot of he said, she said, or whatnot. But from what I've seen from the proof that certain community members have provided in several different types of social media, is that fortunately, Sparta Wallet, they provided an announcement. I don't know if you've got the announcement there with you, Chase, that we can provide on the screen, but they kind of sent a little announcement after that they supposedly dumped the SPW tokens, and it was quite a lot of SPW tokens, to the point where it made the rest of SPW rather worthless.
To
Penny, like
interject,
basically.
I don't have it because, to my knowledge, they've deleted all of their
Hmm.
personal and professional social media except for the new project.
Yeah, that's right. So unfortunately, that's kind of what happened, and it was more of an abrupt announcement. It wasn't enough time. It wasn't enough time for the artists, the people that hold their NFTs, the people that have invested into the project to necessarily get out. Because at the end of the day, they dumped on the community, and that's what the consensus was with the vast majority of people that was around it. And obviously that's a lot of people's life savings wasted, or artists that spent hours and hours upon hours working onto that project, as trying to build their credibility, their portfolios, everything. And realistically, the end of the day was that the people that made Sparta Wallet should have been the last people to have left the project, to have left the tokens, the pool, etc. So that is kind of where a lot of the outrage came from. And to be honest, that's where I stand for. I agree with that personally. I don't see how they really can. I understand that they apologized, but there's got to be more to that at the end of the day. What would you put there?
I mean, I solidly stand by and believe in a company's ability to make money and to not
Hmm.
experience losses, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
especially out of their personal wallet. And one place where I think Chase and Chris would be surprised to hear me agree is that at a certain point, if they're telling the truth that they've really put money into this. Now I know there are, people observing on the blockchain that disagree with that statement, but I don't know, right? That's not me. So if they've really, put their money into it and they're losing money, right? Like I actually can't fault them for that. Like at some point, you have to get out. You have to exit. You have to take care of your business and yourself and your family first. Um, and then that would not be necessarily a rug pull. But what I keep hearing is people saying rug pull. Now,
Hmm.
I think the argument for rug pull stands in the fact that how it was communicated, that they did it before they announced it, that there was not really any thought given to the NFT artists, right?
Hmm.
Like, so
And they
there
they
was
they
a there was that
publicly
whole
agreed.
thing. They
They
couldn't even pull
Yeah.
their contract, so they had to be able to continue selling their work in the Sparta token.
Mm.
Of course, it's going to crash, and so now they're essentially either having to buy their own work back off the platform to secure it, or losing, a lot of potential gains from their work. And so I think that's the argument from the community side. Ultimately, I do follow with the side of the community where I think they completely botched the exit. I don't dispute their ability or their right to exit. It's like you said, it's how they did it or
Yeah.
didn't do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, I agree. I think a lot of people, especially in crypto, that are investing or emotionally invested in certain things, is that they don't understand the difference with. And I don't mean this in any ill intent. It's just more in the sense of they don't understand that these are still businesses and they still need to make money. They still need to have food on the table, etc. So how do they make the revenue? And like you said, Chase, there's no problem with that whatsoever. You got to make sure you cut your losses. You got to make sure that this is a profitable business. But simply, especially if you're going to be moving away from the blockchain and moving away to somewhere else and positioning your business somewhere else, you are to allow adequate time for those invested, for those that have worked in your protocol to leave. And I think they know that now, but they've obviously taken a different approach and mistakes have been made. Oh, I think you're muted there. Sorry.
Sorry, I keep hitting that mute button today. I'm so glad we're in the soft launch because I'm trying to ramp up the production. Just so everybody knows, I'm trying to ramp up the production a little bit more. I'm trying to get to where we ultimately want to be in order to create a solid show. And so we're doing two things. We are going live and we're doing it and it's real, but at the same time, I'm also fidgeting a lot behind the scenes, as you can tell. I try to throw this little moniker up when I do that, behind the scenes, like when I'm showing, the this, that, or the other, but can't always do that. I will say this: I'm pointing out. We just got some chat in that says nice to see the Raz show again. And by the way, Rodrigo A to Z RAZ. The Raz show is as much yours as it is mine, and it's all my fault that we were gone. If you're hearing some difficulties with my voice, like I said, I got sick. Um, some really bad stuff going around. Then that led, of course, to bronchitis and all sorts. You didn't want to hear me last week. It's tough enough to hear me now. But on your point of how you exit the market, right? And how you conduct your business within this space. I think that's the thing, right? Even let me put this back up on screen for a moment where ZillaQuest, which by the way, if you're looking for a good person to follow in terms of what happens in different areas, you know, follow Rodrigo, but ZillaQuest is probably somebody you should have on there as well in your
Yeah, I agree.
in your list for Zilliqa. But even he took this direct quote from it. He's listened to the whole thing. Again, I admittedly have not, but the quote was, "The way we went about discontinuing Sparta was wrong." I'm not sure who that ultimately came from, but it is all about how you exit. And so Melvin, hey Melvin, our good friend Melvin from Zillstream, hey buddy,
We
they
love
should have
Melvin.
first canceled all listings on their marketplace as to preserve the value. Yeah, that's exactly what we were just talking about. And I think you had initially brought that point up to me. So I don't want to
Mhm.
steal credit for it. I want to give you credit for it now that you're here and have the ability to have that say.
I think
And
also,
thank
to be
you, by the
fair,
way. Let me put this in real quick.
yeah, that's okay.
Melvin, I believe you created a contract that let people cancel their listings, and so thank you for doing that work in the community, sort of fixing Sparta's exit problems. We know, Melvin, that you have fixed a lot of people's entry problems, and I won't list those projects here, but you've fixed a number of them. But here you're fixing somebody's exit problem as well. So we really do appreciate not just all you do as Illstream, but um, also with the other work you do in the community.
Oh, by far. I mean, I think it was on the Twitter. I managed to see that where he made a little D app on. Was it on Zillstream? Was it that you were allowed to basically
I think it was
delist
just put
your?
out there. I think it was just to my knowledge. Melvin, you
Right.
can
Okay. Yeah. No, it's okay.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, the point what I was going to mention previously was that to kind of keep Sparta is still in relevancy here, but as well as it kind of shows as well why you shouldn't be necessarily keeping having a protocol. And this is my just opinion. I'd be interested to hear what you think, Chase. But having a protocol, you can have an NFT protocol and everything else, but the difference is having a token where that is what the hold value is for the NFT compared to the native blockchain token. I feel like there's a lot of negativities there, and especially because you've seen what could happen with an NFT that was pegged to the value, or placed with the value of Sparta. The next thing you know, it plummets, and then all these
Yeah.
NFTs that were worth thousands are now worth pennies.
Yeah, I've never. So, as you can see, I put the comment section up. A couple people here with us. If anybody wants to comment in real time, feel free to join us in real time and put your comments up. You'll see them right here. That's available if you're watching from YouTube. So you'd want to head over to the TZO network on YouTube in order to participate with that. But I'm with you. I've never look. This goes to a larger crypto issue. And I've never really been a fan of these tokens that try to create utility by being the exchange for something, literally trying to
Hmm.
create a new currency for some type of action. You know, you and I off air talked about taxes, right, this year, and a lot of people are thinking about taxes at the
Oh
moment.
yeah.
And we're already struggling in a lot of jurisdictions of treating these supposed currencies or utility tokens as assets. I mean, last time I went to like Chuck E. Cheese or an arcade or Dave and Buster's or, whatever your kids or adult arcade is locally. Last time I went and bought game tokens, I didn't have to record them as assets. Like if I went and bought $1,000 worth of game tokens, which
Mm.
I haven't, but right, like I've gone into these places and bought a couple of hundred maybe if I'm with a party, and I've never had to record that as an asset. So I think we have this issue where we're in this tough world of everything's treated as an asset in many of our larger jurisdictions, the US especially. And then these projects keep trying to invent these currency or these utility tokens that are never going to be treated like that, tax wise, or at least not
Mm.
currently. And then it begs the question, which a lot of people have had, of, well, why not just use the blockchain's native token, or why not just use stables? So I've never personally been a fan of saying, you know what, let's create a brand new token just to facilitate the change on the exchange on our market or on our
Yeah.
marketplace.
That's
It's
precisely
it's
what I was
very much
thinking.
seems redundant to me.
Yeah, no, naturally. I think as well, it just adds an unnecessary risk value for everyone involved, realistically. I understand sometimes, okay, the reason why they want to make this token is to generate revenue, but you can still do that with a blockchain's, native token in the sense of just with smart contracts. Kind of in the sense of, you see OpenSea, the marketplace for Ethereum or Polygon NFTs. There are royalties to be paid. I think there's also something like that on Arc, on ZilSwap. So those are things that kind of shows the redundancy. You don't actually need to have a token for your marketplace to have that value or whatnot. I don't see the necessity of that personally, but maybe I'm missing, something huge.
No, you're right, because it creates, so two things. One, coming from that pure quintessential business point of view, the token can be beneficial. A lot of these projects are in a race to create a token because it's their fundraising event, right? They're not necessarily going and getting VC funds. They're community fundraising through the token launch. And so if we talk about, well, let's not create these tokens, we could end up in a world where these projects, then nobody's chatting, and like the chats go away as soon as I put it up. So I guess I'll turn it off for now. But like, thanks everybody for making me a liar. But you get into this problem where if you don't have these tokens, then how does the project raise funds, right? They're going to have to look at another way to raise funds. They either need to go direct through some type of incubators, through development funds, through venture capital, through their own piggy bank, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
In a way, it does take away one of the key benefits of launching, I'd say, a crypto or a Web3 business. But I mean, you really need to justify whether that token needs to exist or not.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say simply, not everything needs to have a token. And that's kind of the standpoint that I'm coming with. We want value. We want quality in the crypto space. We don't need quantity. This can go around with anything realistically. There's plenty and plenty of NFTs coming out, for example, that, say, okay, what are the buzzwords? It's GameFi, it's play to earn. It's, I don't know, it has this specific artist or whatnot coming in, and this, we're going to have a club that's exclusive where we might have famous people. It's all these buzzwords, and it's all been done already. We're looking for more originality, and originality obviously isn't necessarily something that comes out just through that. It's kind of taking bits and pieces of every single project and then making it your own. That makes it more original. That's the stuff that we kind of want to see. We don't want to see the same, recycled, rinse and repeat scenarios that's happened. Whereas obviously I know in Zilliqa, since they're still working on the Ethereum virtual machine to be compatible with that, obviously there's a lot more, I guess, sense of it being unique on the Zilliqa blockchain, since it's built off of sorry, I just blanked off the coding language, Scilla. There you go. Yeah, Scilla even, sorry. So I understand that standpoint, but obviously what I'm trying to say is there still needs to be more something unique about these tokens. Not just simply, we're having a token. This token is going to do this, just like how this token has done that for this project. Then why don't I just want to go for that project? It's just simply because this is a new project. I can quickly ride the wave or something per se, profit off of it, and then there you go. That's, I guess, the flipper mindset in that sense, if you get me.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do that, though, there is a case to be made, and it's something I've even explored in the past. There's a case to be made for having the token if and only if you have a proper uptake of that, right? So you don't just have the demand for the token, but you have some type of reuptake for it. And in theory, one could say, well, Sparta had that because in order to buy the artwork. But then when you get into that point, you have to start thinking, okay, what's the exchange rate between that token and something else? And that's, I really look, nothing against Sparta.
Yeah.
Truly. Even though I think they went about it the wrong way, even though we have, case history of them even being hostile to the community that they're saying was hostile to them.
They were really trying to build
them in a way, right? Like, because from a business point of view, what do you do? But I think not just Sparta, not just in the Zilliqa world, but crypto in general, these tokens, people are not thinking about the economic concept of exchange value, right? So yeah, okay, you can justify, okay, we'll create some churn, but how is it going to maintain its value against others? And one simple solution could be a peg, but that's, also a larger conversation. I'm sure we can go into at another time when the next project makes the same mistake, because they probably will. What I want to do right now is get used to doing a mid-show break very quickly, And so this is going to be really awkward because of my setup. But Rodrigo, I'll take you off the air for a moment. I'm going to
All right.
manually, some of you are going to laugh at me because I don't have this set up right. I'm looking for my cover. I'm going to manually take myself off the air if I can find it in a little bit.
I'm just gonna
or maybe
enjoy
I'll
watching
stay
you
on.
struggle fiddling around there.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm like, where? Oh, there it is. I've been playing with this thing. So I will manually cover my lens in a moment. But we're going to take a quick mid-show break, and we'll be right back. Rodrigo, I'll hit you up in the chat in the green room in just a moment. All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope I didn't mute myself yet again. I seem to be doing that all day today. Rodrigo,
You're okay. You're okay.
So Rodrigo and I were chatting in the green room, which is just a little text chat while we're on break, and we have an ongoing joke from where is it from? Godzilla DeFi, right? In the Telegram
Yeah.
chat, Godzilla DeFi. We've mentioned it before that you should just go search for it and join it. But we have this ongoing joke, and the music prompted it about blue glow sticks. Now we're not going to tell you necessarily the story about blue glow sticks right now, but Rodrigo, I lied to you. I said I couldn't reach them, but I found one.
Oh, yes.
So here we go. Got to get our blue glow stick going. This is right there. Well, yeah,
I feel so left out. I wish I had some myself. I actually had some not too long ago, but obviously they run out eventually because I already popped it. So
I'm not 16 anymore. I'm almost 40, so I'm going to have to slow motion it, right? But I mean, we can still get it going if we want. Like it's so funny. Like I've got to imagine that the younger people in crypto and in business and my students and all that, like by this point in my life, they don't see me as that guy. But if you are super curious about it, blue glow sticks are my thing. Rodrigo, you know why? Not everybody else does.
Of
You'll have to
course,
go
of
search
course.
for it in Godzilla
I'm
Cadify and
sure
Telegram.
what you could do is go on Godzilla Cadify, go on the lens there quickly, and just search blue glow stick. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of conversations having to do about traffic lights
Yeah.
and other stuff like that. Let's just go with that.
And you'll know it's legit when I say this. I'm not into drug culture, but I was always the blow up guy. If you've ever asked somebody, "Hey, will you blow me up?" Here I come.
He's got a good.
Which, by the way, how true is that? I mean, I'm sporting water. I have I'm ready. I'm ready. A few more glow sticks. Let's go.
He's just that guy that you need to hype up the party. You know, you're just
God,
there
I
in the
aged out of
corner.
that shit like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, didn't I?
You're lying about that. Let's be honest, but it's okay.
No, lying about which part?
How about that? It's been 10 years.
Yeah. No, I'll see you guys on Sunday night. So we were talking about how to exit the market before, and one of the key things that happened over the past week or so is let's talk about an entry into the market. Excuse me, and Katie Hahn. Now, Katie Hahn, if for anybody who doesn't know, used to run the
Coinbase,
crypto. I think she ran the entire crypto part because I see references going back many, many years for her at Andreessen Horowitz. So if you ever see references to good old A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz, the VC firm, Andreessen, founder of Netscape, right? I think most people have heard of this, which, by the way, Mark Andreessen, if you're listening, I still refuse to let you think you won that Twitter fight that we had about, a decade ago. You're completely wrong. I'm gonna stick to that. But no, despite my Twitter history with Mark Andreessen, and him being completely wrong about things he's wrong about, look, they're massively successful over there. And their head of crypto investment, Katie Hahn, left sometime last year, and she just got the largest solo female backing ever in the world of VC, $1.5 billion. And she's going to be splitting that money into two main piles. I believe she announced, somebody would have to check this for me. I believe she announced she's going to name her firm after herself. Common, right? Andreessen Horowitz. I think of the other VC firms. It's very common. And then she's going to name it Hahn. That's what I'm being told. But that the fund is going to be split into two, not halves, but $1 billion will be for not late stage, but growth, right? So once you've already hit the initial market adoption, you're sort of getting into mainstream, and now you're scaling up and you're hitting the growth phase. That's going to be $1 billion of this money is going to be allocated for that. The other $500 million, just the chump change there, is going to be towards new early seed stage type of investments. And again, these are for crypto investments. So Rodrigo, look, I don't want to put a lot of opinion on just yet. I have a number of things to say about this, but what does that tell you personally that a new crypto VC firm led by someone who's very well experienced in it? Like I said, she ran it for crypto for one of the largest VC firms. But what does it say that she's getting 1.5 billion essentially just like that?
I think that's incredible. Honestly, if you just go on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko, you can easily see how much 1.5 billion actually means. In that sense, that is easily, in market cap valuation, a top 100 scenario there, especially for the crypto industry. So that's not a joke. And I love that. I love the fact about that. It's the largest fund by a female VC ever. That's some history right there for everyone.
And then that's in crypto. That's the amazing part here.
In crypto, exactly. A female in crypto.
Not only does technology have a diversity deficit, but crypto especially.
It's incredible. No, and in that sense, I'm excited to see what happens because she does have a plethora of experience. I believe she used to work in the United Department of Justice. The U.S. Department of Justice for quite a few years.
I don't know about her background before. I do know that I just remember that when she went to Andreessen Horowitz, that it was sort of if I recall correctly, like a career change or something outside of the norm for her. So that's interesting.
No,
she has that background.
Exactly. You should just have a quick look at it. Honestly, because I knew who Catherine was. I just actually had no idea about this 1.5 billion,
Yeah.
investment until you mentioned it to me. It's incredible, honestly, and I'm a big fan of what she does. I think she's been working previously with OpenSea, with Coinbase. She has a plethora of experience. I can't see how this could possibly be anything negative. This is incredible news, and I'm excited to see
That's
what
right.
happens next.
That's right. She
For
was very pivotal, and I think she was the player that got them to be the early investor in Coinbase, or an early investor in Coinbase. And so, I mean, just she's been absolutely pivotal in making a good number of these companies, especially in Silicon Valley, and how they relate to crypto.
she's
So,
absolutely killing it.
yeah, I mean, 100%. I'll be interested to see what she's going to be focusing on, because, and excuse me, I'm very sorry for my cough today. As I mentioned, still dealing with it a little bit. But I have a quote from her here where she said, "I think it's important that we don't treat crypto and Web3 as a monolith, because they are really very different." Now, she did actually continue. That's not the end of that statement, but that's the part that really jumped out at me. To not
Mhm.
treat crypto and Web3 as a monolith. They're not the same thing necessarily, right? There are entire different industries surrounding crypto and crypto trading and all of that, and Web3, which is much more utility based, much more mainstream focused. And this idea where we talk about so often that people may not even realize that they're using blockchain technology when they interface with some of these services. So that makes me think that we're going to potentially see a massive Web3 play with this $1.5 billion.
I'm excited. Honestly, just like I said, $1.5 billion. I had a real quick look. That would put on any cryptocurrency, or sorry, if you look at coin market cap, that would place you as number 67 of total market cap valuation. That is an
So,
absurd amount
right.
of money.
This is how much, right, the investment world trusts her and her reputation, and what she's done is, let's go ahead and give you that money, and then you go find the projects that deserve it, make those bets. Let's go ahead and get those unicorns churning. And I think it says something very big about the state of crypto. Now, I
Mm,
do worry, and I think a lot of other people may worry this as well. I do worry that it may mean that we could be um, currently maybe overinflated a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to get bigger in the future, but currently at this moment, a little overinflated. But you really don't want to go that route. You just want to take a look at it and go, this is going to be massive and great for the industry in very capable hands. Um, but there's still that thing like, okay, this is
yeah.
in crypto, right? This isn't technology. This isn't all of Silicon Valley. This is global, decentralized crypto, Web3. I don't know, right? I don't know if from an investing point of view, from my corporate background, like I don't know, that sort of seems still a little bit um early.com-ish, if you will. And keep in
Mm.
mind, that's from me, and a complete supporter of this technology.
I mean, it's just the truth, in my opinion. Realistically, if you look at the grand scheme of things, crypto, yes, although we've reached what, $2 trillion again in value, in market cap valuation of the entire crypto market, that is baby terms compared to the stock market at the end of the day. So realistically, there's still so much to develop and so much to grow. We're still in growing pains, and and we're still trying to become a mature market. There's so much to do. So I agree with you there entirely. um
Yeah, and you do bring up a good point that um you have to put it in perspective, right? When we look at the size of um other funds, the fund that she was managing at Andreessen Horowitz was, I think, $2 to $3 billion, something like that. I was just doing a quick bit of GoogleFi, and then just recently doing $9 billion in raises across the board, not just crypto. So in terms of the VC world, right, this isn't saying, "Oh man, this is so massive, we're in that hyperinflated state that I mentioned." My concern just becomes, is crypto um, developed enough to justify that? And honestly, the answer is probably yes. The answer
hmm.
probably is yes, but it's something we ought to at least think of. And again, I really do think her funds are going to be heavy into Web3. As she says, Web3 is the new era of the internet. It deserves a new era of investors. So
I love that quote. That's
something to
great.
watch out there. If we have any developers that are watching and are looking to get their project, greenlit, create that pitch deck. Go for it. There's some funds available for it.
Absolutely. I think this is really exciting in general. It kind of just shows in a way, you know how back in the day it used to be that banking was the most sought out job, and how psychology at one point was a really
Yeah.
well wanted degree and everything. Because I'm kind of feeling this type of Web3 development, anything to do with Web3 might be the next big thing in terms of for a degree. So whether it's through information and technology, pure computer science, robotics, all these type of things, I think it's gonna be an interesting one to see.
That's where I 100% agree with you. If you
Yeah.
diversify this space out into what, we focus here on this show, it's not just crypto, it's emerging technology, it's 21st century lifestyle. Everything we talked about from will watches replace phones or sometimes, maybe I watch too much Star Trek in my life, but I really do believe at some point we're not going to carry that phone around and some people don't want watches and you'll just, put a little clip on your shirt or something. I really do believe that we're almost at that screen. I'm not going to go down this tangent, but I've talked before about how we do emerging technology trend sighting, how we do that. And if you take screenless technology and you take emulation technology and you take these various other things that you can intersect, you're at that point. But I want to backtrack for a moment and focus into crypto because, Rodrigo, I know you had mentioned to me before we started recording today, you were looking at some TA indicators, a potential reversal.
Yes.
I want to dig into what you were trying to bring to me there and share it with everybody. So what's going on in crypto itself? What are some of these trends that you're watching currently?
So, I mean, I wish I could kind of pull it up with me right now. But in short, if you guys have knowledge or whatnot of, let's say, technical analysis, you'll understand the importance of the total market cap 2 and 3, which 2 is without Bitcoin and 3 is without Ethereum and Bitcoin. And it's starting to seem that first off, it's breaking a trend line. So breaking a trend line obviously is trying to kind of deviate away from a downtrend. And essentially it's going through a lot of key indicators. So if you've ever used a Fibonacci retracement tool, it kind of seems that there are some key levels getting hit and getting passed through. It's gone through certain pivot points as well as EMAs, which are exponential moving averages, and there's also the SMAs, which are the simple moving averages. Overall, there's a lot of basically indications through quite a few markets, whether through the total market cap 2, 3, as well as the DeFi market cap, that is starting to look a bit more promising. And actually, more specifically, Zilliqa is looking more promising as well. We're seeing a bit of price action today, aren't we, as well? About just 8% up just in the past 24
I
hours.
didn't notice that today. That's good.
Yeah, so overall, it's looking good. We don't know. Obviously, we're not out of the woods just yet after this massive dip that we've been seeing all the way since November. So it's been quite a few months. It's been 4 or 5 months of just going down, and there is a potential case where if it's healthy, if we keep on moving on towards this trajectory, obviously, bear in mind there will be a few retracements here and there, or every now and then. We don't always want just a straight leg up. We don't want a monolith of green going upwards, right?
Yeah.
And that.
Well, I mean, we do if we're going to cash out.
I mean, yeah.
That's in your profit taking you do, but then you want
Absolutely.
that big red so you can buy in more.
Slow and steady wins the race is how I always go.
Right. No, I agree. I'm making a joke, of course. We
No,
volatility is damaging even for profit.
Don't get me wrong. If you have your stop losses or your sell orders right there, go ahead and just take it away and then just wait until it crashes back.
No, I don't know who's buying at the top of those green candles, but they are not my responsibility.
No. I mean, that's unfortunately what's going to happen as well as we try and grow through this adoption phase. There are going to be retail investors that have no clue of what it means, technical analysis, or how a market works realistically. So unfortunately, that is always going to happen. It's nothing that we can evade from. It's just people will get educated throughout, and that's just how it works. Unfortunately, that's how a market works, and we all know that. But some people less than others.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people who want to take the world of social media influence and they want to, build those brands that they've done around various crypto projects and just push. And it's like I said the other day, I know I'm in a good place with the chains that I'm involved, especially with Zilliqa, because I have the fudders, the constant fudders pissed off at me. And I have the new wave of hopium dealers also pissed at me. And it's like, that's that sweet spot you really want to be in. When the people
Yeah.
who are constantly negative don't see eye to eye with you, and the people who are just blind-eyed, rose-colored glasses don't necessarily see things. You're seeing things clearly at that point, and I think that's that's where you want to be.
Absolutely. No,
But it does look
yeah.
so. Are we seeing some potential entry points?
I'd say with Zilliqa, honestly, obviously, as per usual, as anyone ever says, not financial advice, in that sense. But obviously, with Zilliqa, it is looking towards, it's going through a healthy movement so far, and it's looking to push on towards the 100 MA. So that's the 100 simple moving average, which currently, as of today, is about 5.3 cents, which obviously isn't what we're used to in certain points, but obviously that is showing some growth, some potential of an upward side. We need to break through these,
It'd be nice to see Zilliqa over 5 cent and stay there. Ethereum over 3,000 and stay there for a while.
Yeah.
Get Bitcoin back up over 45 and stay there for a while. Really,
exactly.
over 50 would be great.
And these are just the psychological levels that we're talking about. These are psychological levels that us as people just want to see, and it looks nice. But obviously, in terms of technical analysis, there's some more key levels that takes a bit more understanding to go through. And right now, Zilliqa is I'd say, with a pinch of salt, looking to be much better than how it was in the previous states over the course of the last few months. So yeah, I just want to kind of add that in there, a bit of positivity. I think we all need that in crypto as well with the past few months. But you guys think another retrace is coming? Obviously right now we're seeing a move upwards of 8%. I do personally think there are some key levels that are around in the 100 MA. If you see on a chart there, if you put in 100 MA there, you'll see what I mean. That is looking that Zilliqa will touch that. Naturally, usually when we touch these indicators, there could be a little small retracement. I'm not trying to scare anyone off. It's looking good. The whole market is trying to kind of push back and fight. It doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet. Like I said, there's still plenty of things to do, plenty of basically holding a price that we want, kind of like how Chase was saying. And we'll see how it goes from there. We could definitely see how it goes. It's just all about making higher highs, higher lows throughout the next few weeks. And and obviously we've got some bullish news coming up for Zilliqa as well for the 2nd of April Metopolis event coming.
Yeah. And as we get there, I'll pull that up on screen here in just a moment. As we talk about some of that from the business analysis side as well, Zilliqa in particular is starting to look a little bit better now that the new team is in place. And it's not necessarily because the old team is gone, right? We were joking about the FUD earlier. There are people who are like, just get rid of the old team. It's not necessarily just that, but the structure that the new team is choosing to put into place is particularly inspiring in terms of business analysis. They seem to have there are some positions that they've been filling and that still need to be filled. And in those positions, especially that still need to be filled, I want to see more technical competence in that area rather than just familiarity with the blockchain world. It's very good to have worked at previous blockchain projects, but I want to see more solid. I love that they're bringing in folks from IBM. I love that they're bringing in folks from other big tech companies, from other big chains. But I do want to see from a business side a little bit more focus on the ability to do business in general, not just in blockchain, because when you have a new emerging technology, that technology functions it's like the web when it was early, right? We keep making that analogy just socially, societally over and over. Well, that's the days when, you'd have IT departments where people were walking around in flip-flops. I know because I job shadowed at some of them. You'd have web developers who were just completely not in line with the rest of the company. And, it's kind of like worked in a silo. We all know what we've heard of, and many people know what they experienced at that time that validate these stories. Well, blockchain's not that much different. And so I think if a chain like Zilliqa, having more central control, not saying they're centralized, but having central control, really, really should be preparing for that next. They can't take Bitcoin or Ethereum Foundation's approach. But you are absolutely right. It's like we have a save the date of April 2nd. We knew this from before, but it's now confirmed that Metapolis is going to be announced in some way, form, or fashion. It's going to be in Miami. I don't know if it's to be at the conference that's happening in Miami at that time. April's kicking off kind of crypto Bitcoin week in Miami, and there's a conference running at that time. So I don't know if they're an exhibitor there. I don't know if they're a speaker there. The particular conference that's running at the beginning of it, the website's not all that helpful at trying to determine that. But related to Metapolis, I don't know if you saw this, but we have some information coming from ICP and Dfinity, right? This is a project that, excuse me again. This is a project that I mean, I've just been watching them since before their launch. Their token price went absolutely insane at launch. I don't know if you remember that. It was just
I do. Yeah, it just popped out out of nowhere, and I was like, "Who's this? I've never seen this in the top 50 of crypto before."
Yeah, we had all been kind of watching them, and it was a meteoric rise. I think we all kicked ourselves for not buying some.
Yeah.
But take a look at this tweet that came out. I'm going to zoom in as a little bit more as much as possible, because they're announcing that Dfinity with a blockchain called IC1101, or excuse me, with a metaverse called IC1101. I'm assuming that's how they're pronouncing it. I was trying to like, is this binary for 13? Is this what like? But IC1101, that's how it's written. That's what I'll go for. If you take a look at this video, notice what you just saw in there. I'll get to that point exactly. That looks a lot like a dome, doesn't it? Right? The same technology that Zilliqa's using. And this is the point we brought up in the very first show, and that I brought up on social media, and we covered this, that it's a third party building the metaverse technology. It's this third party building it. And so what we don't know, right? There were a bunch of people that jumped on me saying, well, Zilliqa will own the code. My question is, really? Like, what makes you think that? Because the question was, if you're going to build a metaverse and you're going to have a third party build it, you don't actually have a third party build it. You'd have a contractor build it. So we're not dealing with a contractor. We're dealing with a third party. So we know that there are domes. This looks eerily, if not identical, to the animation style. So let's assume for a moment, and this is a dangerous assumption because we don't know. We do know that Dfinity has this new metaverse coming, IC1101. It integrates with Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc. A lot of Zilliqans are probably saying, I hope Zilliqa right now, and that makes sense because it's the same producer of the metaverse. If that is true, if that turns out to be true, then theoretically they could interact. They could be interoperable. But here's where I think on social media people really started digging in, is this post of imagine LVMH, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci extending their brands from the real world into IC1101 world. Does this not sound like Max Cantella right now? Like, does Andrew over here not? By the way, this is ICP's head. If we take a look at who he is, he's the head of Web3 games at Dfinity. So does he not sound a lot like Max right now with the luxury brands? I cannot confirm this, right? But it does seem to indicate that they're both getting that line from the third party who's developing this, who's putting a lot of the production work. And so that opens a question, right? At this point, it's fairly safe to assume, and I'm willing to be wrong, right? You can, we're recording this. You can show me when I'm wrong later, but it's fairly safe to assume that it's the same company building both of these.
And I mean, that's exactly what I'm thinking as well, just looking at it right now.
So we get these questions, and none of these are fun, by the way. These are operational concerns we want to know about.
I think this is just standard practice. It can happen. It's okay. It's not a problem.
Absolutely.
Just
who do you buy the domes from? Exactly. Is it possible to go and buy an entire metaverse from this company? Can anybody choose to go in and do that? But we see that the graphics are identical. Talk about luxury brands, various things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm going to let that video play for just a moment while I check the comments here in our last couple of minutes and see if anybody has. Actually, what's funny is right as I transitioned into it, it looks like somebody was asking about it. Sunny June was asking, have you guys seen or discussed the recent post about ICP's metaverse? You were 2 minutes ahead of me on that. Perfect timing for your inquiry there, because that's exactly what we were concluding with today.
I
And
think Blockchain Andy just came up with something interesting there as well.
let's see. Let's take a look. I believe Milan came in. So this is Milan Shikuri of Torch, formerly a Zilliqa employee, came out and said it's not. They're using the same Unreal environments. Okay, and that's perfectly fine, right? So they can be separate, and that leads us to some indicate. If that's the case, then that leads us to an indication that they're probably not interoperable.
Mm-hmm.
It does lead to this though, right? If you're talking about which metaverse is going to succeed in this, that, and the other, there's one part of the Dfinity tweet that I want to bring up, which, by the way, it's really eerie. If they're simply just using the same thing, it's very eerie how much Andrew and Max from two different chains sound alike and talking about these luxury products and Lamborghinis and flying around in F-22 Raptors. But where is it? He talks about, yeah, built in stealth by a top game studio. So it adds a couple of questions about Dfinity's entry of if they're using the same standard library from Unreal Engine, right? Like, does a top game studio need to do that? Sure, they have the right to. Maybe they do. But then the question becomes, why? First of all, why not announce who the game studio is? And I'm sure there are a bunch of reasons why they don't just yet. I'm sure we'll learn that information later. But is that going to put Zilliqa and Metapolis at a disadvantage if it's not the same third party because you've got a supposed top game studio as opposed to a relatively third party backer? So that'll be interesting to take a look at. It looks very, very identical. Andy coming and saying Arthur of Zilblog, Zilsurvey, etc., thinks he's found the actual package they're both using.
This is interesting.
Andy, you just made the conclusion of today very interesting because that leads to so many more questions than anything else that I don't want to start getting into the hypotheticals because
we could be talking for hours here now at this point.
Yeah. First of all, yeah, like why would a top game studio be using a standard off the shelf thing? Like did nobody look around at each other's and go, I don't know. It's just so many questions right now that I don't think we know what to make of it until we know more. I think there's a hope. There's a hope that if they're the same in development, that would be ideal. But again, if Milan is coming out and saying it's not, then that's some pretty good intel that they're probably not. Because he's set through the development of this for the better part of 2-3 quarters before he left to go independent. So it's going to be interesting to see what these metaverses create, what they're going to what they're ultimately going to look like, how they're going to compete.
And I'm very curious, to be honest. Yeah, because
I think so many Grand Theft Auto 4 clones. That's what's going to be the real interesting part.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 has been out for many years. Why can't Metapolis do the same?
That was my subtle dig.
I guess I made it less subtle there, but no. What I wanted to say there was like, I'm just so curious because there's so many of these metaverses, and obviously a lot of protocols are putting so much of their team developing these different types of metaverses.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. Are they going to be interoperable? I'm very curious about that because why aren't we going to live in a world where we can intertwine and connect these metaverses to each other? What do you think about that? Because I feel like
I hope they are, because look, if they're not connected, B2B behind the scenes, then Dfinity coming out with their ability to move markets in the past, that's going to be bad news for the Zilliqa metaverse. And I fully understand that there, again, as I mentioned, there are people in the Zilliqa community, which is, I'm from Planet Zilliqa here. There are people who just view that as blasphemy and they'd want to throw rocks at me for saying that. But when you're doing a SWOT analysis or a steeple analysis and you see Dfinity, which has a proven ability to move markets, come out with something that looks identical, then it comes down to who moved first, who got which, contracts.
You got to disconnect the emotions there at that point.
This is all right now. This is all B2B is going to determine which one of these two, if either. And it's not that there aren't room for multiple. It's not that at all. It's that they're going up against Ethereum, who has massive news of moving closer and closer to proof of stake, going up against existing projects, like going up against Meta itself, going up against, Microsoft is expected to move into this area at some point in the near future. Both Zilliqa and Dfinity are not the largest names you would expect there. And so if you have a nearly identical looking product that they are simply using available libraries through the same game engine, that puts both at a business, disadvantage in terms of corporate partnerships. But I'm just going to stop there because it opens up a lot of behind the scenes business questions that may not necessarily be ready for a live stream yet until we know more. Andy, so it's out there.
Waiting for
I'm
you
not
to
going
read
to put that on screen, but asking about Miami. I knew somebody was going to ask this. Rodrigo, have you been invited to Miami yet?
What's Miami? What's happening there?
I haven't been invited to Miami yet. Andy says he hasn't been invited to Miami yet. Look, I want to wait and see what the event. This is what we were talking about before. There's April 2nd, the event that's coming in Miami. Again, I don't know if this is part of a larger conference or what, but really, we'll see what they put out. My current speculation on this, by the way, Andy, to answer your question, I really think that this is probably going to be a smaller, smaller, more intimate event, if you will. I almost would imagine, my best guess right now, knowing, as a Floridian, knowing what's going on in Miami in April, knowing which conference centers are booked, who's where, this, that, the other, I would imagine that they're probably they either have a side stage or are an exhibitor or something at one of the conferences. I 100% don't know if that's true, but I will put this up on screen. Let's end with this. If it was held on April 1st, it would have made me even more scared.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, that would have shook everybody, I think. Like, why would you do that? But no, I think there's a lot of questions that we are really close to getting some answers to, I would hope, and we'll have to see what happens. But Dfinity definitely threw a wrench in there with so many people speculating. And if there's not any connection between the two, as you and Milan seem to be speculating on, Andy, that's going to be an interesting wrench in the machine. All right, Rodrigo, any last words here before we go ahead and wrap up for this soft launch episode? I think this is our third, right?
Yeah, I think it is our third. No, just I want to say thank you for everyone just to showing up again and just coming in with the comments. It also adds to the experience. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm hopefully getting better with the production side as well, just like you, Chase, and everything. So stay tuned for the next episode. There will be plenty of more discussions to talk about. I think next time I do want to talk about a bit of some DeFi tools that might help a few people into navigating the space if they aren't familiar or aware, especially if they want to kind of, I guess, put their toes into other blockchains and just see a bit of everything.
Yeah, I think we should just go ahead and say that will be our primary focus of the next Wednesday, 1:00 Eastern time. And Rodrigo, sorry for not telling you that we had a time change. Thank you so much for adjusting your schedule. And everybody else, take care. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, take care, guys.